For the second straight year, the Florida Panthers are off to the Stanley Cup final. This time around though, it felt a lot different than last year. I mean, we talked about it in the last Panthers video. I mean, I know apart from a couple of guys, it's largely the same team as last year, but the way guys like Sam Bennett, Gustav Forsing, and even Barkov are playing compared to last year's playoff run, it makes this year's team feel a lot more complete and more dangerous to win a cup than last year's squad, which was heavily skewed towards Tkachuk and Bobrovsky playing out of their minds. And Rangers fans, we're going to make a whole video about you guys, don't worry. Shout out to that guy in warm-up, by the way, who had the newspaper from the guarantee for Mark Messier winning Game 7. Even though it didn't end up working in the end, it was a pretty cool idea to try to fire up the boys. And like I said, we'll dive deeper into it in its own video, but even though some of the older players on the team left a bit to be desired in the later rounds, if I'm a Rangers fan, man am I proud of this group, and honestly, the future looks pretty bright given how guys like Alexei Lafreniere and Igor Shesterkin played. But here we go again with the Panthers in the Stanley Cup final, a Panthers team that seems to have learned a lot from last year's experience, to the point even that last year they picked up the Prince of Wales trophy and had a big kind of celebration with it. This year, nobody wanted to even risk touching that thing. Superstition or not, they wanted to be sure. Bobrovsky is subdued most of the time anyways, but for the big guys like Barkov, Tkachuk, their celebration was also a lot more subdued than last year, understandably so. This isn't a Cinderella 8th seed run to the final anymore, like they expected to be here. The whole tone just feels different, less celebratory and more focused and job's not finished type of attitude. It's going to be really interesting to see how they carry that into the actual final though, because last year the wheels really seemed to fall off once the Tkachuk injury happened. Whether it's Edmonton or Dallas, it's not going to be a cakewalk, but this Panthers team has a ton of experience now. They're dialed and they get plenty of rest here. I mean, the cup final doesn't start for another whole week. And of course, Sam Bennett scores again. What a goal. I mean, he goes bar, post, in, post, out. And the series winning goal goes to Vladimir Tarasenko, who was playing for the Rangers last playoffs. The hockey gods have a cruel sense of humor sometimes. Also, question for you guys, who's the Conn Smythe leader for the Panthers right now? I mean, you could say Matthew Tkachuk because he's leading the team in points in the playoffs. Obviously, if Florida wins it all, whoever steps up in the cup final is going to be the deciding factor for this. But as of right now, I think Barkov has been more valuable to the Panthers in this year's playoffs than Tkachuk. Also, if Bennett were to be on fire in the cup final, I think he'd be in consideration as well. Man, I'll tell you what, with how much of an afterthought the Florida Panthers were in the early 2010s, it's been cool to see them surge like this and get their time in the spotlight. Now the focus completely shifts over to the Western Conference final, and honestly, no matter who it is, I think we're going to have a really good cup final. Give me your thoughts on the Panthers down below. Also, since we've got a bit of downtime here before the cup final actually starts, I might make a video talking about the Panthers season as a whole up to this point. If that's something you want to see, like the video, let me know. I'll see you in the next one. You're awesome.